Welcome to the Impact Asylum HeelCast. But wait a minute. This isn't Brother Underscore. This isn't even Raven Effect. That's right, FK9 here. I have commandeered the HeelCast for this very special edition of the show. No, not special in that way. Give us a break. Last year, Brother Underscore challenged me to come back and host an episode of the show at one point. And, well, if I backed down from that challenge, I'd be almost as big a loser as the quote-unquote wrestler, and I use that term loosely, whose likeness currently adorns a hot-selling brand of toilet paper. So hold on to your dilapidated boats and grab your decrepit erections, because I'm in the hosting chair this week, and that can only mean one thing. We should all be very, very afraid. And I mean more afraid than Donald Trump every time he looks at his approval ratings. That's the only political joke I'll make all night, I promise. Look, I'll be honest, guys. There's every possibility that me as the host is going to be a complete disaster. And that's why I brought some backup. Now, I invited Raven Effect, but he ran afoul of the decay on a deserted highway late at night. They left him sodomized in the middle of the road, made off with his car full of Girl Scout cookies, and we haven't seen him since. I'm sure he'll turn up sooner or later, with or without his pants. So that means it's just me and my partner for tonight. He's back on the HeelCast, sporting an erection decrepit enough to kill a horse, the real father of Taryn Terrell's baby, despite what the RAV would have us believe. Hurls, how are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing very, very good. It wouldn't be a podcast or a HeelCast without yours, Hurls, to talk about the many fine knockouts that Impact Wrestling possesses.
Yeah. This show was an idea that Numero 47 had last year. I guess we got to give him a shout out. Not your typical episode of the HeelCast. We're talking about the Knockouts specifically tonight. There was a Knockouts pay-per-view that aired recently, and also with all the changes to the roster that's been going on recently, I thought the time had come to discuss all this stuff, and we're going to get deep into it, like hardcore analytical shit tonight. We were hoping the show would happen at some point, but it just kept getting put off and delayed, and when we couldn't get on the same page or whatever, and now we haven't heard from Numero in a while. I guess he's busy with the Diva Dirt stuff. So Numero, we're going to get you back on the show at some point, man, but until then, this one's for you. Now, before we get into it, we got a couple plugs. First time doing this, so excuse me if I missed something. But everybody check out ImpactAsylum.net for all your favorite news and analysis and fan gatherings and whatnot. Site run by fans for fans. Check out our boy Numero 47 for all the Impact Wrestling Knockouts related stuff at divadirt.com. Also check out Andre Corbeil's show and retweet the hell out of that. Also retweet my show if you're so inclined. And that should do it. Anywho, Hurls, we had a Knockouts pay-per-view a little bit ago. Man, I'll admit, outside of Knockouts Knockdown, I don't usually watch the one-night-only shows. I'll cop to that. Now, mostly, it's because there's little to no connective tissue with the TV show, so I don't know if this is an issue with the other ones. But Knockouts Knockdown always seems to start with this long, drawn-out talking segment where all these knockout hopefuls get introduced and find out who they're facing and whatnot. And I kind of thought that the reason they were using a bunch of these girls on Impact for the last couple weeks was so they wouldn't have to do this. You know, introduce them, let the audience get to know them a little bit, and then just hit the ground running on the show. But before you know it, like a half an hour of talking has gone by, and they haven't even had the opening match yet. Now, it is important to find out who these people are and what they're about, and introduce the matchups and whatnot. But there's got to be a more efficient way to do this that doesn't eat up quite so much time. Am I wrong about any of this?
No, you're not. But some of the knockouts, we saw them for a brief moment, but they just kind of came out of nowhere. So I was okay with them introducing them one by one, just because the years past they've always done it that way. They also do it for the X Division pay-per-view. It's kind of the same thing. Pretty much, at least lately, they've been gearing that. But I was okay with it, but I understand because we did see Rachel Ellering, we saw MD Jenkins, we saw Santana Garrett before this pay-per-view. So, yeah, it's a little surprising, but I guess I didn't have too big of a problem with it. But I just wanted to say, too, that I'm hoping that we are able to do these reviews after every one night only, hopefully. I don't know if FK9 will join me, but hopefully I'll get another member of the HeelCast to do these, because I do watch these shows, and, they're not for everybody, and I get it, but I enjoy watching them, so I'm hoping to do them every month.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have a problem finding somebody to do them with you, because there's like 10 of us on a rotating panel at the show now. But yeah, it was a little weird, I'll admit, seeing them spend so much time on this opening segment. I suspect they had to kill a little bit of time, probably because they didn't have Gail Kim on the show. They didn't have Brooke wrestling on the show. Not sure where she is. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So they probably just had to eat up some time to fill 3 hours. I think they could have done it in a better way, in a more effective way, like do some backstage pre-tapes. What's stopping you? But this kind of contributed to a problem for me, where much like Impact sometimes, it seems like there were some pacing issues here that you could almost entirely chalk up to that long segment in the beginning. Eventually, it does come to an end, and we start the wrestling. And we begin with our opener of the current knockouts versus the prospective knockouts, because that's kind of the theme of this show now. We have Angelina Love versus knockout hopeful number 1, Brandy Lauren / Casey Quinn / Ava Story / whatever the hell we're calling her now. They've changed her name a couple of times. But yeah, that's our opener, and it's a pretty dull affair. Not a whole lot to see here. Hurls, your thoughts on this opening match?
Yeah, I mean, it was just mostly getting Angelina Love over, in my opinion. I think, Casey Quinn's got a lot of potential. She's really, really young. They specified that she was trained by Jay Lethal. So, when wrestlers are starting to get trained by Jay Lethal, you must be getting pretty old, because we all remember when Jay Lethal was like 21 himself. So,
oh God,
the match was nothing special, but I mean, it did last for 10 minutes, which was, I think, an improvement over some of the other knockouts matches we see. So good for Angelina Love kind of getting over on, knockout hopeful Casey Quinn. I think she needed the win here, just to kind of solidify her as a heel.
Well, yeah, they were obviously going to put Angelina over. It's not the case of the current girls going over in every contest. I think this was one where she kind of needed it, and you wouldn't really expect someone as green as Ava Story to go over anyway. I think she's obviously very green, very inexperienced, very young, talented, but still it's just a matter of getting the experience. So you'd expect Angelina to kind of take the lead here in the match, be the ring general, and set the pace. Ironically, though, in my opinion, it was Angelina who was dragging this match down. Now, Ava may not have the experience working on TV, but she was definitely putting in more effort than Angelina, who pretty much phoned this match in my opinion. It seemed like every minute or two, and I know they're trying to get this new gimmick with her and Davey over, so they got to accentuate it to a certain extent, but every minute or two, she's crawling back over to her corner with Davey at ringside to make out again, and all that did for me was just kill the pace of this match. And quite frankly, I thought it was overdone, and it made the match kind of boring.
Yeah, and the thing that kind of got me about this match was the finish, because I wasn't really sure what Angelina Love's finisher was. I mean, it used to be the Botox injection. So it was kind of out of nowhere when she just did a forearm just to win the match. That's, I guess, what kind of brought the match down for me was the finish. I would have rather seen her keep the Botox injection, because I thought that was at least, it looked impactful. This forearm, it didn't really do much for me, and it doesn't really look like it should be a finisher.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like they're trying to get that over as a new finisher, which is kind of strange, because Angelina's not the most, built, huge woman you've ever seen on the roster, but now they're making it out like she's got knockout power. And she does really nail that thing. She does hit those things pretty hard. I remember when it looked like she hit Alicia in the crowd, and it looked like she knocked her out unconscious. But yes, it is a little awkward that suddenly Angelina, of all people, can knock you out with one forearm.
Right. And that's kind of, I guess it just, maybe I will grow to like the finisher. I just thought the Botox injection was perfect for her, and she always nailed that. So I'll get used to it. It just kind of hit me because if I remember correctly, this is the first time I saw it, or at least in a match. So
Yeah, I think it's all right. I don't really have a problem with it. For me, there's the gimmick with Davey that feels awkward right now, but again, that's stuff we'll talk about in a little bit. Afterwards, we have Allie versus Leva Bates. Talk about two women cut from the same cloth. Not bad stuff here, though it did feel like a bit of a mismatch, in my opinion. They were cute working together, but I think both of them would have gotten better reactions had they been facing heels, because it's kind of like the lovable, goofy underdog, in both cases. Still, minus that bit with the stuffed bear they were tossing around at the beginning there that felt like it went on for like 5 minutes straight, with just messing with the referee. I mean, it was a fun match. Leva Bates put in a good performance here. FYI, she also had like the standout performance of Knockouts Knockdown the previous year, where she had the match of the night with Jade. So they're bringing her back. It kind of feels like they're pulling a Mia Yim here and when they bring her back for like 3 pay-per-views 3 years in a row, and then she gets a contract. So one more to go, Leva. Hurls, your thoughts on Allie and Leva Bates?
I definitely agree. Like, this was an odd pairing for, Leva's not on the roster, obviously. Odd pairing that you would put Allie with someone who's practically got a very similar character. You would think you would try to go with a little different direction. But having said that, I enjoyed the match a lot. I thought the match was really good. I actually really like the fact that they actually put some storyline into the pay-per-view, because generally in these knockouts, knockdown, you don't see somebody interfere in a match. And we saw Sienna come out and distract Allie. So Leva Bates got the win. I enjoyed that aspect a lot. I thought the match was fine. It was a really good match. I'm still trying to decide what Leva Bates was coming out as, because her whole gimmick is a cockpit play. So she's always kind of imitating something. I know the previous year she had like a Clockwork Orange type suit on. So I'm not really sure what she was going for. Maybe it was an anime. I'm not really skilled in that. But as far as the match goes, I thought it was really good, and I like the interference by Sienna.
I've seen a bit of anime. I'm not like one of those otakus or anything like Bennett the Sage or whatever, so I don't know exactly what she was. I do think it's a good idea that anytime they can inject any kind of storyline into one of these one-night-only matches, they should go for it, because I think that's going to help generate interest, and you can connect the dots between the show and the pay-per-view. So I like the interference. I think it made sense for Sienna to come out there, and thus it makes sense for Leva Bates to win, because it plays right into that storyline with Allie. So that was good stuff. But I'll tell you what was not good stuff. The next match. Diamante versus Amanda Carolina Rodriguez. Hurls, man, you go first.
All right. Well, we saw Rodriguez on Impact a couple weeks before, and Raven Effect said it best. We're not body shaming anybody, but I'm not like the most in fit person. But when you come out of shape, like, and you're on national TV, or in this case a pay-per-view, you would try to get in better shape if it was me. That's the first complaint. As far as Diamante goes, she does her thing. She's a little fireball. She tried. I mean, she tried to make this match good. But Rodriguez just wasn't really digging her selling, and her offense was not that great. She just seems like she wasn't very polished. And I think a lot of that had to do with what kind of shape she came in for this match. But as far as the winner goes, very happy that Diamante won. Not really much to say with it. I thought this was one of the lowlights of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned that you're not the most fit person ever. Okay, I'll admit, neither am I. I got a bit of a spare tire that I do cardio 5 times a week to try to get rid of that. It's an ongoing process. But the thing is, I don't have to look super skinny. You don't have to look super skinny, because we're not professional athletes working on television. Not so in ACR's case. You're a professional wrestler. You work your whole career to try to make it on TV. Then you get the call to appear on TV, to appear on the pay-per-view, and you show up out of shape. And you show up, you can't even get some slimming tights. I mean, good Lord, get some like trousers or something, because those tights were like 2 sizes too small. But you know what? Let's not spend too much time on this one. Long story short, ACR really had no business being out there. She was out of shape, sloppy, she looked bad, And I think she kind of embarrassed herself and management for not being able to find somebody better. I think the match dragged. It went way too long. I think Diamante tried. She did what she could. And she proved in the main event that she's capable of stuff a lot better than this. But there wasn't much she could have been done to salvage this one. I kind of felt bad for Diamante having to carry ACR like this. But, yeah, at least the right person went over. But, yeah, no reason to bring ACR back. Let that be the last of her. Fortunately, we got something much better next with the champ, Rosemary, versus MJ Jenkins. Now, I admit I'd never seen her before, at least not counting that little bit on Impact when she came out in that big group of girls. So this was my first real exposure to MJ. Best match so far, and it's not even close. Hurls, take it.
MJ Jenkins got a lot of potential. She's 22 years old. She can springboard already. She did a lot of cool high-flying stuff in this match. Rosemary did her thing. Rosemary, we know what she can do by now. I'm very impressed with MJ Jenkins. I think she can be someone that you could sign right now, and she's just going to get better and better each Impact. So, we'll talk about it later. But I think MJ Jenkins has a lot of potential, and I think for her being able to fly off the ropes like she does, I think she's a definite keeper. But Rosemary getting the win here was the right call. She's Knockouts champ. She needs to look strong. Keep her going strong. Good match. Red Wedding for the win. I have no complaints with this one.
You know what the crazy thing about this was? I learned after the fact that apparently MJ had only been practicing springboards for a short time before she got the call to appear on this show. Because apparently that's not the style that she usually wrestles. Like she does like a strong style type of thing, usually. So this was like a new experience for her too. So I think it's really impressive that it came off as well as it did. I think she had a misfire before the match started. They do a little promo segment there with Rosemary and Crazy Steve. They kind of proposition her for the Decay, and she turns them down, and she called them a bunch of freaks, and she got booed for it. Whoops. Yeah, that was not the reaction she was going for, obviously. Although, after that, they had a pretty darn good match here, MJ, she's got the cool springboard moves down. You looked a little bit shaky. She botched one of them, but, that's why it's high risk. But like I said, she'd only been practicing those things for a short time, and she hit all the other ones, so that's impressive. And also, none of the other knockouts are really doing that stuff right now, since apparently Impact just don't want to sign Kaylee Ray for reasons that continue to baffle me. Don't get me started. But I thought MJ really stood out here. Rosemary gets the win. She's the champ. She's got to go over, obviously. But I came out of this wanting to see a rematch between these two, because there was some really nice chemistry here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and like you said, she just started doing springboards. I mean, you could tell she was still pretty green at doing them, but the fact that she can do them already, and it wasn't even that bad the way she was doing them, that's why I think, like, you sign her now, she's only going to keep improving. That's a wrestler that I want. Plus, she's only 22. You can mold her into what you want her to be, and I think that's a big-time bonus for Impact Wrestling. So, yeah, this match was very good. A lot of back and forth. It's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I think somebody like an MJ, I think that's somebody that you got to keep an eye on at the very least, like put her on in a bunch of explosion matches to just chart her progress, because that's somebody who, if she's that good this early and this young, that's someone who's going to end up in WWE at some point if you don't get her first. So, you might as well get her first. And Speaking of someone that Impact got on this show, I'm trying to improve my segues here. We get Sienna versus Alicia Edwards, because now it's acknowledged that she's Eddie's wife. Anywho, your thoughts on Sienna versus Alicia?
I thought the match was fine. Alicia Edwards, I've seen her a couple times. I don't really know her offense hasn't got to me to the point where I'm that impressed with her. She just kind of seems like every match that I've seen her in, she's just getting beat up, and then she kind of comes back for the comeback victory. Now, I have a question for you, because I did watch this last week, and my memory's not so great. But I believe there was also interference from Allie in this match, correct?
Yeah, Allie shows up, and Sienna gets distracted, and Alicia gets the upset pin.
Okay, that's kind of what I was figuring when I was watching this, that Allie was going to show up and that's how Alicia was going to win. And it turned out to be true, but that's fine. That's good storytelling. But, Sienna, it made sense with Sienna losing. But as far as Alicia Edwards go, I got to see more. I'm not 100% sold on her being a great knockout at this point. I know she's not going to be great. She just started. But, I just don't see it right now. I just feel like she's the typical take a beating for a long time, put your strikes and try to get some offense in. But we'll see. She did get the victory, so we'll see how she does in the future. But what are your thoughts?
You said the match was fine, and I think that's a good way to describe it. It wasn't the best match of the night. It was far from the worst match of the night. It was a good affair. No one embarrassed themselves. They both worked hard, and the result is something that you can both be happy to have out there. And I agree. I want to see more of Alicia. I'm not incredibly familiar with her work prior to this. As I understand it, she normally works as a heel. So maybe that's why she feels a little bit generic so far. But I kind of see her as like a new Madison Rayne type. She's like the pint-sized blonde who gets beat up a lot. Obviously, she's going to be a babyface in the short term instead of a heel. But she's kind of got that same body type where you kind of expect her to just get pounded on all the time. And sometimes it's difficult to make that type of gimmick unique. So I think she's got a bit of an uphill battle to kind of sell that. But she did a fine job here. She looked competent. Everything looked on point. And as we're going to talk about a little bit, she actually did get the contract coming out of this show because it helps to be married to someone on the roster. But I think she did good work here, so I don't really have any objections to that. And moving on to someone that I usually have a great number of objections against, Brandi Rhodes, facing, thankfully, one of the best wrestlers on this show, Santana Garrett. Well, certainly the best match that we've seen Brandi have. I guess the upshot is it's really easy to have a good match with Santana Garrett. Plus the fact that apparently I think these two know each other really well and they're really familiar with each other and train with each other. So having a good match was probably second nature in that sense. Hurls, your thoughts on Brandi versus Santana Garrett?
Oh, I definitely thought this was the best Brandi Rhodes match I've ever seen. And obviously the partner she had definitely made it. But nonetheless, these two put on a really good match. Like, I was surprised at how good this match was, to be honest, because I thought it was just going to be Santana Garrett just trying to, work her way through the whole match, try to take Brandi through the match. But, it was nice, solid back and forth. And the right person won, in my opinion. I think the people, they kind of know that, Santana Garrett's the veteran here. And I think they emphasized that on the broadcast. So definitely happy that Santana Garrett won this match. And I thought it was a fine match. And nothing really else from me about this.
Yeah, it really was a case where Brandi just had the right dance partner to kind of guide her through everything. Yes, certainly Brandi's best match so far by a mile. And like I said, I tweeted this. I hope she thanks Santana Garrett profusely because we can pretty much credit Santana with the quality of that one. Although, Brandi, she did her part in there, so, let's not be unfair. But ultimately, yeah, it was a better than expected match, and the right person certainly went over in this case. And with that, I was hoping we could avoid this one, but oh god, it's time to talk about ODB. So ODB comes out for a match with someone I was actually kind of happy to see again, Rebel. Now, when they brought Rebel back for this show, I was kind of hoping that they'd give her a chance to have a decent match. Let's see if she's improved since she was there last, because she got started late. She got signed when she had virtually no experience, but she started working on it. And because I've always liked Rebel, she really does have a ton of charisma and a great entrance. It's good God, that entrance. Wow. And, frankly, if I could have watched her entrance on a loop for the next couple of minutes instead of the match that followed, I would have done so. Because when they stuck her with ODB, man, you knew what you were in for. This was just more of the same stuff from ODB. Some people like her shtick. I'm not one of them. She's not really trying to be a wrestler at this point. I mean, she did maybe 2 moves in the whole match and still managed to gas out in like 3 minutes. The match itself felt like a waste of time to me, with ODB just looking like she's just there to goof off and get a paycheck. Hurls, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I think at this point ODB is just kind of brought out there to get a pop. I don't really see. I mean, her best wrestling days are behind her. I don't mind her being on the roster because I think you can never underestimate someone's value to get a pop. And I think Impact Wrestling, especially now with the new changes, they need someone who can do that. ODB is, she's a veteran. Impact Wrestling fans know who she is. I don't mind that they signed her back. No problems there. However, ODB is definitely not in the best shape she's been in. She can't do the kip up anymore. So, yeah, I wasn't really digging this match. I mean, Rebel, she seems a little improved, but from the way she had a lot to go. I mean, she's got a long way to go. The only problem with Rebel is she's like 37 or 38, and I think ODB is 40. So they stuck the 2 veterans, well, 1 veteran and then 1 older lady that's trying, that's practically a rookie almost. So, I don't know. The match really didn't do much for me. It was just hit your spots, and that's about it.
Yeah, it was the cool-down match. It was the one where everybody could just, sit back and take a breather, have some laughs, and then, recharge for the next one. And that's about all you could hope for when you put these 2 together. I kind of feel bad for Rebel. I think maybe if they'd put Rebel with Diamante, she could have shown if she's improved any of the skills there. But, really not a whole lot to say here. I guess you kind of had to put ODB over. Hey, I like Rebel, but she's still got a long way to go, like I said. So kind of made sense for ODB to get over just to get a pop there. But moving on to a much better encounter. LVN, Laurel Van Ness, the woman I've coined the sexy giraffe, versus Rachel Ellering. Now, for my money, Rachel Ellering was the best of the newbies they were looking at here. Now, I'm a big LVN guy, so I was gonna like this one because she's in it. But I thought Ellering held up her end and then some here. They did a little angle with them backstage at the start of the show as a workaround of a scheduling conflict because Ellering couldn't be there on the day they were filming it. So they kind of explained that, okay, she's injured, she got beaten up by LVN, and that's why this is happening like this. And, she incorporated the injury, the kayfabe injury, into the match. She showed that she could tell a story. Her wrestling was solid. She got the crowd behind her. And I thought the match was really, really nice, too. I think Ellering did a great job here, and I'd say sign her up right now if I wasn't sure that she was headed toward WWE. So your thoughts on this one?
Well, that's the interesting thing. I think, how many of these knockouts have you seen on NXT? Quite a few. I mean, it's almost like they're auditioning between the 2. So it's like, do you want to sign me? Do you want to sign me? So they just kind of keep going back and forth. We've seen a lot of them. But, yeah, this match was awesome. This was definitely, I don't know if I said this already, what the best match of the night, but this one was definitely the best match of the night. Back and forth. The crowd was really invested. Like you said, Rachel Ellering told a great story, with LVN going after her in the beginning. But was it just me, or did LVN use the unprettier to finish Rachel Ellering?
I don't remember if she won the match with it. She definitely used it in there at one point.
Okay, so she did start using it. I definitely like that. She's got that Christian type charisma to me, so I'm fine with her using that. But yeah, as far as the match goes, it was a really, really good match. I think LVN definitely had to win because, what she did before the match, and she needs a good push right now. So, but as far as Rachel Ellering goes, they should definitely try to lock her down.
Yeah, and it goes to show how much incorporating some storyline aspects to these matches really helps, because I think that match was really boosted by the angle they did earlier with the injury angle backstage. And also, you talk about LVN needing a push. Let's not forget, she's still technically a rookie herself. And I continue to be impressed with how well she's done, how quickly she's grasped the character aspects and gimmick performance and all that stuff. We see her play the snotty rich girl and now like the jilted, drunken bridezilla and stuff. And she's technically a rookie. She's already got one of the best characters in the knockout division. So I'm with you. I want to see this girl get a big push at some point because she's turning into a great addition. But she does end up getting the pin. Although, props to Rachel Ellering for doing a hell of a job there. I do think she's going to end up in WWE, though, because, we see a bunch of these girls in NXT, but, she's also a legacy. She's second generation, I believe, so we know how much WWE loves that stuff. But if that's the last time we see her in Impact, she made a hell of a case for herself. But we move on to the main event, which was an 8-woman tag match featuring all eight of the winners that we saw in the previous matches. Ends with Alicia pinning LVN and earning herself a contract. Now, I'd say this was a decent match, but not as good as you'd probably expect considering some of the people that are in there. Santana Garrett, Leva Bates, etc. Maybe the agents dropped the ball in putting it together. You had a really nice exchange there with Santana Garrett and Diamante, but there were a couple things dragging this one down. First of all, Angelina did almost nothing. But when she did go on the offense, the crowd kind of died for it, which I think is a sign that maybe the ship has sailed with her. ODB was booked to clean house on the entire heel team at one point, despite being in the worst shape out of everyone in the match, and she also gassed out really quickly again. Plus, she completely no-sold Rosemary's spot where Rosemary rises up like The Undertaker. That annoyed me. So there was kind of an unintentional story being told here that the OG Knockouts' best days may be behind them, and they're not really putting in the effort anymore. Didn't ruin the match or anything, but these things did bring it down a peg. Like I said, not a terrible match, but not as good as it should have been either. Would have been better if maybe they'd focus on the stronger workers in there, give Diamante more of a bigger role in there. Yeah, your thoughts on this one?
Well, I want to start it off by asking you a question. Did you like the fact that this quote-unquote Knockouts Knockdown, that they did not do the typical Battle Royal? Did you like the fact that it was an 8-man tag instead?
I didn't miss it because, like the previously mentioned non-continuity between the show and the TV, because even when you do have a woman being crowned, quote-unquote Queen of the Knockouts, it's never really factored into what happens on the TV before. It's just a thing that happens and then it's forgotten about. So I think it would have been cool if it had been in there, but I didn't really notice that it was gone.
Okay, because I actually liked the 4 versus 4 match. It was good how they did the heels versus faces. Obviously, that made sense. As far as the match goes, I thought it was pretty good. Obviously, not everybody got a chance to get in there and do a lot of wrestling, but for the ones that did, I thought Diamante looked strong. I thought Santana Garrett looked strong. I want to say that I really liked what Rosemary did in the match, but yeah, the no selling there was just I don't know. But as far as the main event, it was a good main event, and with Alicia getting the victory, I kind of figured she'd get signed. I had no problems with the main event. I thought it was a pretty good 4-on-4 match. It seemed like the crowd was into it for most of it, so yeah, I liked the main event. I mean, I had no problems with it.
Alicia gets the win for her team, earns herself an Impact Wrestling contract, which you had to kind of expect because her husband's on the roster, and it just seems like Impact are signing up everybody's significant others. So if you want a contract, just start dating someone on the roster or get married to them or whatever. But yeah, she gets a contract, which Karen Jarrett brings out, because apparently the whole show would have been a complete disaster if Karen Jarrett didn't make an appearance. Don't get me started. But yeah, she signs it right then and there. Do you think Alicia was the one out of all the girls that we saw? Do you think she was the right choice?
Well, if we're just going to assume that if everybody could have been signed, if you would have presented them a contract, they would have signed it that day. No, I don't think Alicia would have been my first choice. I don't think she would have been my last choice. But that's only because ACR was there. No, I'm kidding. No, she's fine. I just want to see more from her. She just seems like she needs to get a little edge to her, and not just the good old face that's battles back and gets a surprising victory. No, if I had the first choice to pick, I would definitely get Santana Garrett. Then I would probably get Rachel Ellering, and then probably Leva Bates. Those would probably be my top three. Then probably MD Jenkins.
Yeah, I think you said it right. I think Alicia wouldn't have been my first choice, wouldn't have been my second choice. I don't think she's a bad choice, though. I think there are just more impressive people out there, more impressive people on this show. I think right now, you take away her association with Eddie Edwards, and she's going to be a utility player, I think, until she finds a way to differentiate herself. I don't know, maybe a heel turn would help with that, but we'll see. But yeah, congratulations to Alicia. And the other person who got signed out of here that we'll mention in just a second. Overall, this show was a mixed bag for me. I thought the Prospective Girls ranged from really good to really bad. And there were some weird, strange timing issues where it almost felt like they were stalling, probably since Gail and Brooke couldn't be on the card. Not a waste of time, though, since, like we said, there were some girls that I want to see more of. And that's a good place to segue into our next segment here. We're going to talk about the roster, because there were some signings on this show, and they've been revamping the roster from top to bottom for a couple of weeks now. So we got to talk about this. We got Alicia. Also, MJ Jenkins has apparently been signed as well. She's on the roster page now. I don't think there's been official confirmation, but it seems like a done deal. We talked about Alicia, so your thoughts on MJ Jenkins and what they can do with her?
Well, I think out of the two, rookies that we got, I mean, the two 21-year-olds, MJ Jenkins was the right choice. I think Casey Quinn, I think she's got potential too. She was good. She was fine. I mean, she's only, 19 or 20, maybe 21. So she was good, but I think she needs to kind of hone her skills a little bit more. I think MJ Jenkins was the right choice. I think she's got a little more potential. She's already shown you what she can do, and I think she's only going to improve. I think her timing's going to get better. I think she's going to get a little smoother in the ring. So I'm very happy that they signed MJ Jenkins.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be keeping Ava Story or Casey Quinn or whatever her name is. I think they're going to be keeping her around in little bits and pieces here and there as like an enhancement person, because it seemed like they kind of like her. Also, she showed up in ROH in a match I just saw earlier today, so she's going to be around. I think they're probably going to keep an eye on her. But yeah, I think if they couldn't get Rachel Ellering, because like I said, I think she's got her sights set on WWE. I think MJ was a really good pickup. I think she's got a unique style that no one else is using right now. Also, if she's going to be wrestling as a babyface, it kind of shores up that side of things a little bit, because they're kind of low on the babyface knockout side right now. Thanks to the disappearance of the next person that I want to bring up. How's that for a segue? Brooke. Don't call me Tessmacher. She returned a little while ago, and then just like that, she was gone again. Now, apparently at the last set of TV tapings, she missed the shows because she had a previously scheduled autograph signing in New York or something. So I figured, all right, fine, whatever. We'll see her at the next one. Then the next one shows up, and I look at the taping results, and she's not there. So I don't know what's going on with Brooke. She's kind of in limbo right now. I think they could really use her, because I was really excited to have her back. Brooke at one point was my favorite knockout on the roster. And now, I don't know. I don't even know if she's on the roster. So, your thoughts on Brooke? Do you think she's gone again? Do you want to see her back? What do you think they can do with her if she's still there?
Well, I think that it could be a situation of similar to Aaron Rex. Not saying she's retiring, but I think there's a reason why Aaron Rex is not there. I just don't think Jeff Jarrett wanted him there. I'm not sure if Jeff Jarrett's crew is high on Brooke, because the tapings that she was there, they were booked by John Gaburk. That was the last tapings that John Gaburk booked. So these tapings, I think if Jeff really wanted her there, she would have been there. But the strange thing, though, is that she is in the Impact intro. So if she's not there, it just seems a little strange to me. I would feel like she would be there if that's who they wanted on the roster.
This could be a case of maybe she just got lost in the shuffle because they were trying to introduce so many new people so quickly, and we've kind of seen that, in some other cases, like Eli Drake kind of getting lost in the shuffle for a while with all these new additions. I think if for whatever reason Jarrett and his people are not high on Brooke, I think that's a fucking waste.
drop-dead gorgeous, super athletic. Yeah, she's coming back rusty because she had a baby. She was out for a year. But this girl is a star, man. How can you not be high on her? I don't understand that at all. So I guess we'll see. We'll wait for the next one. I think maybe she couldn't make these TV tapings for whatever reason. If she doesn't show up at the next one, I think that's probably a sign that she could be leaving for whatever reason. God, I hope that's not the case, because they could use her right now. They need another babyface. But, to be continued on that one. Moving on to the active roster, though. We got a bunch of current girls to talk about, starting with Brandy Rhodes. Now, I've made it no secret that I'm not a fan of this woman. I think it's wow. You know, I was going to make a Lacey Von Erich comparison, and then I thought better of it. But no, it's another case of this girl getting signed because of who she's married to. And let's face it, that's the only reason why she's there. She's there so they can say Cody and Brandy Rhodes. Because they can't say Cody Rhodes, because that's copyrighted. But they can say Cody and Brandy Rhodes. That's why she's there, because of who she's married to. And it seems like they have it in their heads that they want to make Brandy a star. And I understand the desire, but she's just not there yet. And it's obvious. Okay, her good performance in the match with Santana Garrett, that was a fluke. All the other times we've seen her in the ring, she looks green as hell. She's really awkward. I understand that she's really new and she's trying, but she's just not ready for this. And it shows every time she's out there. I say, if she wants to wrestle, you put her on Explosion. Let her wrestle matches on Explosion that the U.S. audience isn't going to see until she gets better. Because right now, I really have no desire to see her on Impact at all. And if she is, I think she needs to do the gimmick that Allie's doing right now, which is the green as hell rookie who's an underdog who has to fight tooth and nail for every in every encounter she has, and she usually comes up on the losing end. And it's fine. It's not going to hurt her because no one expects her to be doing very well when she is as green as she is. Your thoughts on Brandy Rhodes, Hurls?
Yeah, I'm willing to give her a chance. I definitely think she was signed because of Cody, who Cody recently stated that he's going to make a decision on where he's going to be wrestling soon. My guess is he probably will come to Impact. That's my guess. He may not, but I feel I'm going to give her a chance. I'm going to give her about a year, see if she improves. Like this match tonight against Santana Garrett was definitely the best match of her career so far. You know, if they can kind of work her along slowly to the point where she can improve and, you know, put on halfway decent matches, I'll be all right with it. Because, I mean, going back to our last segment, Brooke, when she first came in, nobody knew she could do the stuff she could do. And same with, who am I thinking of here? Tiffany.
Taryn Terrell. Yeah.
Taryn Terrell. You know, nobody knew she could do what she did when she was just the Knockouts referee. So I'm going to give her a shot. But if she's not improving within about a year, I'd say it'd be time to cut bait with her because I think you're just wasting potential at that point.
Yeah, I think Brooke is a good comparison to make there. Because when she came in, she didn't have a lot of experience. And even I said this. I said, look, I don't with the girl from Extreme Expose, I don't get it. Do they need this person? What's the point? They could go after someone more experienced or with like any experience. I don't understand this signing. And in fairness, Brooke's first couple of matches were shaky and not that good. But, man, she really worked her ass off and improved a hell of a lot in a short period of time. Now, I understand that Brandy's very new. If she can work hard and show the same kind of improvement that Brooke did, great. But she's swimming against the tide here because they really threw her, not to mix metaphors, but they threw her in the deep end without teaching her how to swim. So it's going to be difficult. And most of the time, she's not going to be wrestling opponents that are as good as Santana Garrett. So she's got an uphill battle ahead of her. Moving on, next person on the list, been there since about 2009, I believe. Pushed as the top heel in the division for quite some time. In the last year or two, though, she's really tapered off. I kind of suspected she was transitioning into a backstage role. They were trying her out in the announce position, and now I guess she's back as a wrestler. I don't know what the plan is for her, to be honest. I suspect maybe they'll do something with her and Josh, because it looks like Josh is going to be in a storyline capacity now. I don't know if that's going to go anywhere. But
I wonder what they can do with Madison, because honestly, she's never been that over. She really hasn't. As hard as they pushed her, she always had trouble connecting with the audience. And despite having several title reigns under her belt, it's just, I never really got it with her. I think she's turned into a competent performer. Now, I had a lot of issues with her in the past. Now, I think she's fine. But I think there are other more impressive and more interesting people they could be using. I think she's a good utility player to have on the roster, maybe to help get some newer people over, help put them over to give the newer girls some wins under her belt. Beyond that, I don't really see much of a future for Madison Rayne at this point.
I got to disagree with you here. I thought Madison Rayne was really over once she got the Killer Queen theme song. I thought she played that role to a T. I thought her feud with Mickie James was really good. I thought her promo skills were I thought they were better than Mickie James. And if you watch that feud, I thought they had just great back and forth matches. I thought Madison Rayne, that was at her peak as far as being over. I'm glad that they went back to the Killer Queen theme song because that's what she's best at. I think Madison Rayne can definitely be an evil little witch. She can play that part really well. She's not the most intimidating wrestler. She's one of the smallest, but she's a good worker. I mean, some of the stuff that she did before coming to TNA in Shimmer, she was phenomenal. I mean, she can definitely work, and she's had some really good matches in Impact as well. So I'm okay with Madison Rayne possibly getting a reboot, possibly being known as Josh Matthews' wife. That'll get you heel heat no matter what. So I think Madison Rayne, I hope they can find a direction for her because I definitely think she can be a solid player in the Knockouts division.
You know, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you on her promos, especially those early ones and the feud with Mickie James. I never got into them. I'm like, no, this isn't heel heat. This is get off my TV. I never thought she was that over in that incarnation. I think if she can associate herself with Josh Matthews and be known for that, maybe reinvent herself a little bit, okay, maybe. But still, regardless, you're talking about someone who's been there since 2009. This is 2017. After you've been there as long as she has, it becomes a question of, well, what can you still do with this person that's new and fresh? So she's going to have to work hard to reinvent herself. So we'll see how she does with that. But somebody suffering from the same kind of dilemma is an Angelina Love, who for many years was known for that person who just is like the only thing that can come up with for her is just reforming the beautiful people again and again and again and again. Now, thankfully, with Velvet gone, at least for now, fingers crossed that we never see her ass again, they can't really do that. Hopefully. So maybe they're finally putting the beautiful people thing in the rear view, and now she's trying to reinvent herself. She's doing something. You know, she's doing this whole, I don't know what you call it, but they put her with her husband. So they're a pair. They're like the natural born killers or whatever we're calling them now. So she's doing something. I don't think it's working personally, but it's something different. For me, it seems like an excuse to not have her do so much so you can sell her as, oh, she's slow and methodical, and then she's always got to crawl over to Davey and they make out and draw heat that way. I don't know if it's working, but we'll see. I don't know. Your thoughts on Angelina Love? Because it seems like she's kind of in the same boat as Madison, where if she's been there for a long time, she's done it all, and now she's got to reinvent herself to stay relevant. And I don't honestly, I don't know if it's working or not yet.
Well, Angelina Love was always the leader of the beautiful people. That was the best incarnation. But they brought her back, and she's gone. She's left about 2 times, I believe. She's had about 3 stints in the company. I think right now they just got to try to work on this with Davey Richards because they got to develop it. I also agree. I'm not super into it right now. I mean, I don't know. There's not much you can say about Angelina Love. She's a 6-time Knockouts champ. I believe she's tied for most knockout title reigns. She's definitely got a spot on the roster. I have no problem with her as a wrestler. I know she can put on solid matches. I mean, we've seen it before. I believe her street fight with Gail Kim was just awesome. But like Madison Rayne, I think she's got a new character now. She needs to run with it. She needs to own it. And I think Madison Rayne as well. She needs a new character. Hopefully they'll work on that with her. But I think Angelina Love's definitely one to keep. I just hope that she can kind of grow into this character that she's portraying, and I haven't exactly seen that yet. So the worst thing they could do is bring back Velvet and do the Beautiful People, because that's way overdone. It's over. They had their run. Maybe in 10 years, or maybe not that long, maybe in 5 years or 6 years, they can have one last nostalgia run. But as of right now, it'd be the worst for all three of them. And plus, I don't want to see Velvet back either, especially all the stuff that she talked about the company. So, Angelina, I just think she needs to grow into this character, figure out what works and what doesn't. We talked about it earlier. She switched her finisher. So at least she is trying something different there. Let's just see if it catches on with the Impact Wrestling fans.
Yeah, you mentioned the street fight with Gail. I still remember that one. That was a really good match. And that was probably the one time in her previous run in the company where I felt like Angelina really looked like she cared. Like she was really putting in 100% and to really do this justice. Otherwise, in her previous run, she just looked bored. And I'm not surprised, since they were pretty much just rehashing the Beautiful People stuff, just doing the same stuff they were doing in 2008, only not as good because now it was a lot less fresh. So I didn't blame her for being bored. I blame the writers for not giving her anything interesting to do. But now she's back. She's doing this new thing with Davey, and I'll give her this much. At least she's trying to reinvent herself now. She's trying to move past the Beautiful People stuff and do something different for a change. I don't necessarily think it's working. I'm still seeing like a lack of energy from her in the ring. Obviously, she's gotten older. She's had a baby. So maybe she doesn't have the same spring in her step that she used to, but I want to see more effort out of her. But at least she's trying right now.
I have a question for you, too. Did you like the time that her storyline with Winter, when Winter kind of drugged her and was able to kind of control her? Because I'm a huge Winter fan, and I actually did. It was so goofy, but it kind of worked in a way because it was so goofy. I don't know. That was another time in her career that I guess I appreciated her work, because she really didn't have to play a character. She was just she didn't talk. She was just kind of controlled by Winter. I thought it was an interesting storyline. Very unbelievable, obviously, but heck, it's wrestling. Sometimes I like it that way.
Man, you lost me the second you mentioned the Winter gimmick. Oh my god, the time-traveling lesbian vampire gimmick. That is fucking infamous. Infamous. To this day, that thing makes me laugh every time I think about it. I mean, look, you take a woman who got over primarily with her mic skills and her charisma, and then you give her a gimmick where she says nothing, where she never talks, and you expect... It's just... God, I was watching this, I'm like, what are you doing? What is this? This is the most insane thing I've ever seen. No, not a fan of that gimmick at all. I was very happy when they got rid of it, so I'll respectfully disagree on that one as well. She needs to reinvent herself. She didn't need to go that far. All right, let's just put that out of our minds, okay? But she's trying. All right, she's trying, and that's more than I can say for ODB. Let's just get through this one real quick. Look, she's back, and now because Jeff Jarrett is a fan of her, and she gets a pop when she's out there, and that's about it. She's still the same ODB she's been since we met her in 2007. Still cutting the exact same promos, still having the exact same match. I think in Angelina's case, she's shown that she can at least reinvent herself to a certain extent. Again, I don't know if it's working yet, but at least she's capable of it. With ODB, I feel like what you see is what you get, and she just wants to be herself and have a laugh, and I don't feel like she's trying to be anything else.
Yeah, I don't think she's coming off as a technical mastermind, or she's not going to give you a 5-star match, at least not now in 2017, but she's there to pump up the crowd, and you need people like that. How many times can you stick someone, two unknowns? They don't really have a gimmick out there, and crowds are just kind of sitting on their hands. ODB, she gets a laugh out of the crowd. I mean, when she's up on the top corner and she's driving the girl's head between her legs. I mean, who doesn't laugh at that? Because I do. And I know some, you may not like her shtick, but I think it works. I don't want to see her get a big push. I don't want to see the knockout division revolved around her at this stage of the game. But she's there for a reason, and I think she serves that purpose really well. That's just my thoughts on it. If they brought back the knockout tag team titles, she could definitely have a fun run with those with somebody else that maybe is a stick in the mud and doesn't like to have fun. So, yeah, I'd love to see the knockout tag titles come back. But as far as ODB goes, I think she serves a purpose, and I think she does it well.
You mentioned that she gets a pop, and that's true. I think that there are uses for somebody who gets that kind of a reaction, and I guess you can use her to get other people over, which is probably what she should be doing at this stage of the game. I admit I was very nervous when they booked ODB versus Rosemary for the Knockouts title. I'm like, oh God, are they going to do this? Is Rosemary going to be a victim of the new regime, kind of throwing them under the bus just to put over the new regime and how it's better than the old regime in every way? Are we just going to sacrifice Rosemary to ODB? But no, that's not what happened. The match was short, and Rosemary went over strong, and that made Rosemary look good. So if that's what's going to be ODB's role now, just helping the newer girls, putting them over, helping them get over a little bit, then maybe there is a place for that. I don't want to see her all the time. I don't want to see her get pushed that much, but in little bits here and there, maybe there is a place for that. That's about as nice as I'm going to be to ODB. But next is a girl that I want to be very nice to, Laurel Van Ness. Now, when she came in as Chelsea Green, I was like, really? Okay, yeah, I get it. She was on Tough Enough, but aren't there better girls out there, more experienced girls with legit star quality? Chelsea Green, I don't get it. Then, I looked her up on YouTube, watched some of her stuff. I'm like, well, okay. I mean, she's not terrible, but still, aren't there better women out there? Then she had a match on Explosion with Jade. And I said, oh, okay. Yeah, that was pretty good. That's the best thing I've seen from her. She got over a little bit. She looked like the camera likes her. All right, let's see what she's got. So then they debut Laurel Van Ness. And they give her a little bit, and she just takes this and fucking rolls with it. I think she's great at playing this stuck-up rich bitch. Then they put her in this storyline with Braxton Sutter, and she does really well with that. And then they do the drunken, jilted Bridezilla thing, and good God, now she is one of the most entertaining people on the roster. And we don't even see her wrestling right now. I think they've tapped into something with this girl. I didn't know it was there for a while, but she's showing legit star quality. I say don't underestimate the star quality of Laurel Van Ness, because this girl, she's improving very rapidly. At least from a character standpoint, I think she's already one of the best girls they've got. And she's still technically a rookie, man. So I think there's big things in store for Laurel Van Ness. And don't you dare disagree with me on this one.
I will definitely not disagree. I mean, she was trained by Lance Storm. So, yeah, she's a rookie, but she got trained by one of the best wrestlers ever, in my opinion. She's great to have on the roster. I mean, I was really wondering how long they were going to go with this Bridezilla gimmick. But, I mean, it looks like they're in it for the long haul. And the stable that she's with Sienna, KM, and Congo Kong, it's like so crazy, but I love it. I mean, it's pretty cool. So, no, she's definitely a keeper. She's got mad wrestling skills. I mean, the match she had at this pay-per-view was, definitely watch it because it was awesome. I think she's someone that definitely will get the Knockouts title someday, and she's going to be a big-time player in the future. I definitely think that she'll get the title, and she'll have a nice long reign. I don't know what character she'll be playing by then, but I'm liking her new gimmick. I really am. I think she's a very talented worker.
Yeah, I think they're approaching the point where they might need to scale back the Bridezilla thing because it feels like it's starting to drag out a little bit too long. But other than that, I think this girl's awesome, and I think she's only going to get better from here. Also, next, Diamante. I haven't seen too much of this girl yet. I need to see more of her wrestling because I really had no exposure to her prior to her getting signed. I looked her up a little bit on YouTube. I saw a match she had with AR Fox that impressed the hell out of me. I think this girl is super athletic. I don't know what kind of character she is yet,
But I think this is a girl I look at who I'm like, okay, if they're going to lose Jade, I think this is a really good replacement for Jade. Haven't seen a whole lot of Diamante yet. I think she'll learn a lot from Conan and those LAX guys being in there. Your thoughts on Diamante?
From what I've seen so far, she's impressed me a lot. I didn't think she'd be as good as she is, but so far I love the way her strikes are just awesome. I mean, she's got quick kicks. She's got quick hands. I like a lot of her wrestling skills so far, and I think she's super young as well. Another one who's just going to keep growing and growing, and she's got limitless potential. I like the fact that she's in LAX. She's got that fiery personality. I think Diamante is definitely a great sign by Impact Wrestling.
Yeah. And someone who also is, and is just now really getting a chance to show it, and that's Sienna. Now, when they first brought her in last year, I saw where they were going with it. Okay, she's with Maria, and she's the heavy. And like, uh-oh. Are they just going to have her be the muscle for Maria? Because this girl's got mad mic skills, like seriously. Like if you think about all the women in the industry right now, her mic skills are in the top 10 easily. And you wouldn't have known that for quite a while because they barely let her talk. You know, she was always standing behind Maria, who was always the spokesperson for the ladies squad. But now Maria's gone, Sienna's finally getting to talk, and her stock is just immediately gone up. I think they're starting to really push Sienna towards the title. Like, that's probably where they're headed in the not-too-distant future. Maybe she's going to challenge Rosemary for that, but she's certainly the person who's benefited the most from Maria being gone. It's weird how Maria was the person who got everybody around her over, but in Sienna's case, she was kind of getting held back a little bit, so she's finally allowed to spread her wings now. We're really seeing the true character potential for Sienna getting to come into her own and kind of do her own thing now, and suddenly she's leading her own faction, almost. So I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg of what Sienna can do, and I think they're obviously really high on her right now, and you're seeing that a lot. So your thoughts on Sienna?
You know, I mean, she was really talented even before she came into Impact. I just didn't really care for how she was booked. Not saying it was bad that she was paired up with Maria. I thought that part was fine. I just thought her title run came out of nowhere. I know Raven Effect really likes this title run. I'm not really sure. It's definitely not one of my favorite title runs. I thought they didn't really solidify the title being on Jade at that point when Sienna beat her. So I was kind of upset with that a little bit, and I thought it was just too early for Sienna. But, you know, you see these bigger knockouts come in, and like a Havoc or an Awesome Kong, and they can only really do one thing, the power game. But Sienna, she's a little more agile than both of them. I think she's a phenomenal talent. She can go with pretty much anyone, you know, make it look believable. I think Sienna's a very talented knockout, and I like what they're doing with her now. I think, like you said, she's getting a chance to shine a lot more than she did being under Maria. I like her direction. I like that they brought in KM. Kind of adds a nice dynamic with her. And now I think it would be more appropriate for her to win the Knockouts title than it was the first time she did win it.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. That first title reign really didn't get any respect at all. She was a victim of Gail and Maria being the central focus of the knockout division for months on end. I think it was like 8 months or something. So anybody else who had the title, they weren't the focus the way they should have been. That entire title reign was really forgettable. Really not her fault. But now, there's something I wanted to run past you, because they're doing this thing. Okay, she's kind of got two storylines. She's doing the thing with Allie, and she's also doing this thing with Karen Jarrett. Now, so far, they've had several interactions with her. They put Karen up on such a pedestal that anyone who gets in her face, you know something big is going to happen with that, because that's just the way Jarrett thinks. Here's what I think is going on, okay? I think the new creative team has it in their head that at some point Sienna needs to become the top knockout heel, not Rosemary. And I'm going by her interactions with Karen and the fact that her screen time has increased while recently Rosemary's has decreased. We'll talk about that in a second. But I think they're putting the wheels in motion to make that the status quo in the not-too-distant future. Problem is, they're going about it wrong.
Well, first problem is them not valuing Rosemary as much as they should. That's idiotic because she's the best thing they've got. One thing at a time. With Sienna, the issue is they're trying to build her up as a heel by making her Karen Jarrett's chief agitator, so to speak. Because, oh, Karen is so angelic and wonderful that anyone who doesn't like Karen Jarrett must be the worst person in the world. This is backfiring because in actuality, Karen is so irritating that when Sienna gets in her face, when Sienna gives her a hard time and doesn't take any of Karen's crap, it makes Sienna look like the baby face. She is coming off like the baby face every time they interact. That is not the outcome that they're going for. So I think they need to keep Karen away from Sienna. I think they need to just continue on with the Sienna and Allie stuff because that's where she comes off like the heel. Because no one's going to feel like a bad guy if they're getting in Karen Jarrett's face. No one. It's not going to happen. Karen is just too unlikable for that. Anyway, speaking of Allie, this is the next top knockout babyface. They're building her up. I still kind of question the decision of giving her, taking an experienced, very talented wrestler, giving her a gimmick where she's not a wrestler. But she took that and she just made this character just so lovable and goofy, and it got over better than almost anything else last year. And they've kind of cooled the iron on it recently because I'm not sure this new creative team knows how to book it exactly. I think that's fucking wrong. I think they need to increase Allie's push, get her in the ring a little bit now because they developed the character. She can wrestle now. I think they need to give her some mic time, stop having her just be an extension of Braxton Sutter. Put the focus on Allie, start the build up to Allie versus Rosemary at Bound for Glory because those are your new leaders of the knockout division. Who else is it going to be? Rosemary and Allie. They've got the best feud in women's wrestling on the indies as Courtney Rush and Cherry Bomb. I think the time is coming when we need to see that feud on TV, and I think they need to build up to that title match at Bound for Glory and then really roll with Allie as the champion after that.
Well, I'm still a little sour that Jade left because I think Jade was someone that you should have been building up by now to be a Bound for Glory type player. But as far as Allie goes, I think her storyline played out perfect. And the whole Braxton Sutter under Maria thing, I thought that played out perfectly. Now, for this year, it's time to just be a wrestler. And I like what they're doing right now. You know, clearly Impact does like her because they just signed her to a new deal along with Braxton Sutter. They signed both of them to new deals. So they clearly do like, you know, they must like her a little bit at least. I like what they're doing. I think she just needs to keep wrestling, keep getting that momentum. Hopefully, you know, she'll get her title reign. I don't know if it's going to be this year. It might. It could. But I like what they're doing. They're just establishing her now as a wrestler. And I think that's what they got to keep doing. I don't know who she's going to feud with, you know, say past Slammiversary. But I like the direction they're going with Allie because I feel like we have enough backstory with her to where the point is she doesn't need to be in a big, you know, out of the ring storyline, so to speak, like she was with Maria.
I think they've got enough there in the story that they can draw this out for a while still. I mean, she hasn't really had that one-on-one with Sienna. Well, she has, but not in a climactic way. And she's still got LVN waiting in the wings after that. So they've got like two potential feuds lined up for her. They could just do one after the other. That's a good couple months right there. But I do think they need to start sowing the seeds of Allie versus Rosemary. Also, let's get Allie in the ring a little bit more. Let's give her some more promo time because that's a big star on the rise right there. As is the champ, Rosemary. I'm a little concerned with her lack of appearances in these recent TV tapings. I'm hoping it's just a case of them reshuffling the deck and not really having anything for her at the moment, but them still being high on her, because we know Abyss is on the creative team, so hopefully she's going to get a fair shake. But look, let's be honest, 2016 was not a great year for the Knockouts Championship. It was hot potatoed around a couple times. We had several very lackluster title reigns that kind of fell victim to Gail and Maria constantly being the focus all the time. Jade's title reign thrown under the bus, Sienna's title reign thrown under the bus. We had a couple title reigns that were very short, and it was really time in the new year to come in, establish a compelling, interesting, strong, long-term champion to kind of reestablish that belt. And in comes Rosemary. She's been having good matches. One of the best characters probably ever, easily ever, in the knockout division. I think Rosemary is the champion they need. I think she's the nucleus of this division that they need right now. I've been saying it over and over again. They got to draw this out until Bound for Glory. Make her the longest reigning knockouts champion of all time. Build her up like the female Undertaker. Have her roll through everybody. And that includes Gail Kim, who we'll talk about finally next. Then finally build up to the match against the underdog, Allie. I think Rosemary, she came in like a house of fire last year. She was a complete natural the second she got in front of the camera. They gave her a little bit. She took a mile and she just fucking took off. She's been one of the biggest character revelations to come along in a long time. I see no reason to take that Knockouts title off of her before Bound for Glory is so far.
I agree with you. I think she's a force. I mean, when she debuted, she was one of the best characters that Impact Wrestling has ever developed. And I agree with you. I think she should be the female Undertaker for Impact. I think that's how good of a character she is. I also agree she should look strong and she should look dominating and she should beat quite a few knockouts on the roster, if not all of them. And I agree, whoever does beat her, it has to be a big deal, whoever they do book to do that. But as far as her maybe not gaining as much time, I don't know if you guys talked about it, but Crazy Steve, leaving, possibly going to NXT, that's probably a big reason why the decay has not been focused, because they're going to have to find new roles for both of them. I don't know if they're going to keep Abyss and her together. They might, but, I mean, when you're losing one of your players, it's just tough to book them with any certainty, because that someone's already going to be leaving, and that could screw up all your plans. So I can kind of see why they've scaled back a little bit on Rosemary.
It might be because Crazy Steve leaving. I guess it also might be a case of, well, we're revamping the knockout roster and we don't really have any solid opponents for her right now, so maybe there's not a reason to use her as much. I can understand that being the case, but, man, this girl is so good. It's criminal that they don't use her and have her in a big role. Really, every show, man. Because if you look at her body of work, I mean, she's not some rookie. I mean, this is a girl who paid her dues on the independent scene for a long time. This was a girl I was saying, look, Courtney Rush, sign her up. I mean, she tried out for Gut Check and they didn't do anything with it. I was like, really, man? She's so entertaining. I mean, I've seen her doing everything from trying to get Sarah Del Rey to dance at Shimmer, to scaring the crap out of me with those Demon Assassin vignettes and Smash Wrestling. I mean, she's done so many iterations, so many different variations of this character, and she's fabulous in everything. I mean, she never cuts a bad promo. Wrestling is solid. I just think, as good as she's been so far, they barely scratched the surface with Rosemary. So, by all means, don't let that talent go to waste. I don't know how much longer her contract is up for, or if she's planning to stick around after Crazy Steve left. By all means, man, I said this on the other show, drive a dump truck full of money up to her house and get her to stay, because that's your top knockout heel for the next couple of years. And we finish our roster rundown with a girl who's not even on the roster right now, as it turns out. Because Gail Kim, not currently under contract, but she's not someone they have to worry about because she hates WWE with a passion. Been out since, I believe, October with some kind of back injury. I have to ask, since then, we've been seeing the other girls really get a lot more attention. Because when Gail Kim is there, it's all about her. When she's not there, the other girls actually get some space to spread their wings. I gotta ask, Curls, Gail's been gone for a couple months. Have you really missed her while she's been gone? With all this other stuff that we've been getting with the other girls?
I don't know. I would say I haven't missed her, but at the same time, I can still enjoy a product even without AJ Styles not being a part of it. So I don't think one wrestler is bigger than the company. I look to these, moments for other knockouts to step up, and they certainly have. But I'm a huge fan of Gail Kim. I think she's one of the best women's wrestlers of all time. She could still go, still solid, in great shape. So I have no problems with Gail Kim. But have I missed her? No, I wouldn't say I've missed her. Would I like her to be on the roster? Definitely. But I realize she's injured right now, so they're not going to sign her while she's injured. That's kind of how I feel about Gail. I mean, I can't really hate on her because she's one of the best knockouts of all time, and she's done so much for the company. Yeah, not much else to say, really.
Look, I like and respect Gail Kim. She's one of the best female workers probably ever. I take nothing away from her. My issue is when she's there, it's the Gail Kim show all the time. All the other girls have such an uphill battle trying to not just establish themselves and get over, but to really ascend to that top spot. It's really once in a blue moon that this happens because Gail is always ensconced at the top, and the writers' management, they just refuse to make her look weak for any reason. And I've talked about this a lot in the past. Like, even in those rare occasions when somebody actually does get a win over Gail, she's so protected that it almost feels like a fluke. She's closing in on a victory, and it looks assured that she's going to win, and then some interference happens, and she only gets beaten by a fluke, and then she beats the person in a handicap match with, like, 3 partners. You know, when she's fighting them alone and she still wins, like, the next week or something like that. So even when somebody gets a win over her, it's, like, invalidated later on. They saw that a lot last year, actually. It becomes a problem when you're trying to build a new division and you need your veterans to kind of help the new girls and put them over. And for some reason, Gail has a problem doing that. Now, I don't know if it's her or management just loving her so much that they don't want her to look weak at all or ever, but it really does hurt. And I guarantee you, Rosemary wouldn't be booked as strongly as she is as the champion if Gail were still there. Guarantee it. We probably wouldn't be getting this much focus on Sienna coming up the ranks and looking stronger if Gail was there. And, same thing with Allie. We probably wouldn't be getting the LVN stuff. So I do appreciate the Gail's talent and everything she's accomplished. But honestly, in a way, I think her not being there for a while has really helped the division because we're finally seeing these other characters start to flourish.
Yeah, no, I can't really disagree with you there. I think, once again, she'd be another one that would help out a Knockouts tag team division. I think you could have her do something there while focusing on other knockouts in the regular knockout division. So I think they definitely need to bring those back. But are we going to talk? Well, I'll let you finish this. I just wanted to say my next hint, I don't want to give it away, is GFW.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I don't know if I should go there, though.
We can talk about that in a second if you want.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
Look, Gail, I guess her return is probably imminent. I think it's coming later than she expected. I think she expected to get cleared by now because she had an indie schedule that she had to cancel. So she's taken longer to get cleared than she thought, but everyone seems to expect her back at some point. I think when that happens, she needs to take a role not unlike Madison Rayne in ODB. Maybe we see a little bit less of her, not wrestling all the time, kind of takes a back seat, tries to focus on helping the other girls. Now, she can still look strong, she can still be in a top spot, but she can't be the be-all, end-all anymore. Because, she's getting a little long in the tooth, still looks great, she can probably still wrestle at a very high level, but she's not going to be around forever. And, it's 2017, you got to start focusing on the newer girls who are going to be there in the next couple of years. Because, the future lies with girls like Diamante, LVN, Sienna, Allie, Rosemary. That should be the nucleus going forward, not Gail Kim. It can't be all about Gail anymore. But, yeah, okay, you mentioned this. We saw on this past Thursday, Sienna confronts Karen because she heard that the GFW Women's Champion is walking around somewhere. So, apparently, we're going to be seeing Christina Von Eerie. Now, I'll let you take this one because I don't really know a whole lot about Christina Von Eerie. I've seen a little bit of her. I'm hoping she ditched the mohawk because I'm not a fan of the mohawk. I think it looks damn silly. Beyond that, Christina Von Eerie, take it away.
Yeah, well, Christina Von Eerie, this would not be her first time in Impact Wrestling. I don't know, some of you may have forgot, but she used to be Toxin. She used to manage... Jesse...
Ink.
Thank you. Was it Jesse Neal and Shannon Moore?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she used to manage them. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't even know if she had a match. She might have had maybe 1 or 2 matches her whole time. her first stint in TNA.
I think she had a mixed tag with LAX, or not LAX. It might have been Mexican America or something. I do remember her seeing at least one match.
Okay. We didn't really get to see what she could do, so I'm interested to see how her wrestling skills are. I wonder if she wrestles the style that she portrays, kind of like a hardcore, grungy type style. So I'm definitely interested to see where this goes. I'm also interested to see if these GFW titles are going to stay, because if they are, then that would create another title for more knockouts to go after, which it's not a bad thing. So I'm interested. I'm sure it's going to be better than her first run with Impact Wrestling. So we'll see how it goes.
Be better than her first run where she managed Ink Inc. Yeah, it wouldn't be hard to top that run, I'll admit. I'll take your word for this one. I really am not too familiar with CVE. We know we're going to be seeing her pretty soon. Don't know if she's going to be sticking around, but we'll see some of her, at least. So moving on to our last topic that I had on the itinerary here. Recently, Hurls, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's a new regime in Impact Wrestling. The Dixie regime is out. The Anthem regime, spearheaded by Ed Nordholm and Jeff Jarrett, they're in. And with a new regime comes new changes. And they've also got a whole new creative team, new writing team, and these people are going to have new ideas and different ideas about who should get pushed and who shouldn't. We're seeing some changes in the knockout division right now, focus on different people, and I wanted to run this past you because, in a way, it seems like a breath of fresh air, but it's also kind of worrying. We've seen a little bit of the focus taken off Allie. Rosemary's seen a reduction in screen time. That might just because they don't have any real opponents for her right now. But yeah, like I said, that's not a person you put on the bench ever. There's probably more changes on the way. Jeff Jarrett seems to have a fondness for the OG knockouts, which is why we're seeing Angelina and ODB back. Not pushed too much. Thankfully, ODB seems like she'll be an enhancement person, and Angelina, she's feuding with Alicia, hopefully trying to get her over in the process. Okay, fine. You do need people who can put the newer girls over. But, I don't know. Change is always uncomfortable. Maybe I'll feel a little better about this once we get a better idea of what the landscape here is. But we do know there's probably more changes coming. They seem pretty high on Sienna and LVN and Allie. Rosemary's a question mark. I hope to God they keep her. I don't know if she's going to stick around after Crazy Steve left, because those two are really tight. Like I said, give her all the money. All the money. Do whatever you have to do to keep her, because that girl's a fucking star. But your opinions on all these changes, are they a good thing or a bad thing? Do you think the landscape of the knockouts needed to be changed all that much?
I love the new regime, to be honest with you. Just by watching this pay-per-view, I thought the match quality was just way better. If you watch previous Knockouts Knockdowns, which you have, yeah. I felt like some of the matches were just one-sided. Too many times I felt like in this one, each girl got a good amount of offense. And like we're talking about Brandy Rhodes, who got a good amount of offense. And I think the matches have just improved. So on the match quality front, I think they have improved. As far as who they're, liking and who they're not liking, I think it's too early to tell yet. I'm just kind of getting a feel for it. But, I mean, this was the regime that booked TNA at the time for so long. So if you watch the knockouts, how they were booked back then, that's kind of what you're going to get going forward. Who's going to be a part of that? I don't know. But for me, if we're just speaking on knockouts, I'm liking at least the match quality that I've seen, because the Rachel Ellering LVN match, the Rosemary versus Santana Garrett match, I thought were just phenomenal. And not saying the old regime didn't have good quality knockout matches, but they seem to be few and far between. So, me personally, I love the fact that Jeff Jarrett's got control of Impact Wrestling again over Dixie Carter and John Gaburick.
Now, you mentioned the improvement in the booking of the knockouts, and I think that's all due to Scott D'Amore, my opinion. Because this is the guy. This is the guy, along with Dutch Mantell. They were booking the knockout division back in the early days when the matches were just kicking ass every damn week. However, they're also the regime that booked the division like the Worship at the Altar of Gail Kim division. And that's something that worries me, because eventually Gail's going to come back. Sooner or later, that's going to happen. So is it going to be another case of, we're just pushing Gail at the expense of everybody else? It can't be like that anymore. It just can't. And I think you're right. I think we probably got to give it a little bit of time to see how these things play out. I need to see more of Rosemary. I think they're off base on her. They got to get her back in the mix somehow. Also, the iron has cooled on Allie. I think they're missing the boat with her. I wonder if they're not sure what to do with her yet, because right now she's mostly Braxton Sutter's arm candy. And she needs something that's about her. Because I don't have a problem with Braxton Sutter, but he's not who the people are there to see. They're there to see Allie. They're there to see his wife. He can still be there, but I think there needs to be more focus on her. And like I said, I think they're high on Sienna. I think they're doing well with her right now, even though the Karen thing is going to... LBN, doing good. I love what they're doing with her right now. I think she needs a few, though. And all the other girls, too soon to tell. That's about all we've got. I thank everybody for joining us on this very special edition of the HeelCast, this Knockouts rundown, if you will. So for Hurls, for Raven Effect, who's probably wandering around the desert without his pants somewhere, for Brother Underscore, Kyle the Chef, for our buddy Numero 47 over at Diva Dirt, we're going to get you back on the show at some point, man. Thanks for joining us, and keep watching the skies.